Hi and welcome to a new video. So if you are about to become a professional composer, a professional songwriter, a musician, a studio session guitar player, for example, a vocalist, if you want to become a professional, let's say audio artist, there are a few mistakes you will probably make in the very beginning when you start off with your career. And actually mistakes are a good thing, because without mistakes you wouldn't gather experience. And experience basically is the core foundation your entire career or your personal brand is based on. However, there are a few mistakes you should avoid. And to be honest, I still see a lot of people making them. I made them myself. It is not the end of the world, but it's even better to take care and be aware of these things we're going to talk about in this video. So here are my top 7 mistakes you should try avoiding. So number 1, don't send off your track right away at the evening you finished writing, mixing or mastering it. Always have a little bit of a rest after you finished working on your track, or the best thing would be to sleep a night over it and get on with that track right in the morning with fresh ears. The simple reason is your ears will suffer from fatigue. So the more hours you work on a track, let's say, the less details they will be noticing towards the end of the day. So once you're finished a track, have a night of sleep over it, get on with it on the next morning with a pair of fresh ears, and you will probably notice and experience quite a few mixing mistakes or maybe too much compression or limiting going on. Number 2 is actually pretty simple. More expensive stuff will make you sound better. I've seen so many posts on social networks and actually received a lot of messages about this question. What is the best compressor? What is the best limiter? What is the best EQ? What are the most epic trailer percussions? So please keep in mind, when it comes to plugins, today's technology, today's algorithms are that advanced that they more or less are all equally powerful, meaning they get the job done. I don't say that they all sound the same. In fact, lots of these plugins sound very different. But with this constant advancement in technology and algorithms, all of the plugins, also the plugins which come with your digital audio workstation, are good too. So before you head out and start looking for the best compressor, just sit down for a couple of hours. Yes, hours, and try to understand what a compressor actually does. If you fully understand a compressor, how it works on a snare, how it works on an entire orchestral track, how it works on a brass section, then you can head out and compare it with other compressors. But before you do that, you should become aware and learn how these things work and what they actually do. Number 3, too much compressor, too much limiter. Dear aspiring audio artists, I really understand that in the beginning, when you finished your first few tracks, that you really want to compete with, let's say, the epicness of other tracks out there. But the biggest mistake you can do when you want to acquire that quality of sound is putting too much compressor or too much limiter on your tracks. If a track sounds epic, or trailer-like, or mighty, or heroic, depends on your choice of instrumentation, your arrangement, and the quality of your mix. So if you didn't pay attention to the things I mentioned before, it happens that your track doesn't sound as powerful or as epic as the one of the composer you're looking up to. And what happens then is that you try to acquire that epicness by adding compressor and limiter to your track to boost the loudness, to make it as loud as possible, as epic as possible. So before you get to the mastering process, please pay attention to the mix, to the arrangement, to the choice of instruments. These are the things which will make your track epic or mighty or heroic, not the final process of mastering. Number 4, I'm probably aware that I will open a can of worms by saying this, but here we go. Don't put too much time in your musical skills. So let me explain a little bit, and don't get me wrong here. It is very important to practice your instrument. It is very important to educate yourself about orchestral arrangements, about the choice of instruments, on the articulations of instruments. It's also very important to get into music theory and understand every aspect of music. But instead of 2 hours of practicing all these things during the day, just maybe reduce it to 30 minutes a day and put 1.5 hours into building your career and your personal brand. So please, again, don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that you should stop caring about your musical knowledge and your musical skills. But in the end, you make money by presenting yourself to the outer world and not naming all notes instantly of a G flat 7 sharp 5 13 26 root square out of 9. Number 5. RTFM. Or to explain this a little bit, take care and read the manual, or if you don't like to read like me, head over to YouTube and check out a tutorial, a walkthrough video, because it doesn't look very good when you head out to Facebook, for example, and bash the developer about how difficult it is to install the library, when there was like the very first point in that manual describing exactly how you should install the library. Number 6. Be aware that there is a little funny, weird psychological effect happening, and it especially kicks in when you have finished your track and compare it to others. The effect I'm talking about is a little bit similar to that effect when you record yourself to audio and listen back to your vocals the first time. You have this instant thought of saying, wow, that's me, that sounds terrible. The same applies to when you have finished your first track and compare it to other tracks out there. You may think that your track sounds smaller, the mix is a little bit more narrow, it's not that epic or whatever. And even if you took care of the arrangement, the mixing, the mastering, it can happen that your track always sounds a little bit worse than everything else out there. And even better, the moment a few people listening to your work, they can't find the problem you are having with that track. So I'm not an expert and I don't really know what's going on with that phenomenon, but all I can say is that assuming you did everything right with that track and nobody else has a problem except you, don't pay attention to it, release your track, and notice that this effect will fade away over the years the more you release music. Number 7, and this may actually sound a little bit funny, but please pay attention and understand what your mod wheel is doing. And in case if you don't have a keyboard to record your music into your computer, try to sit down and read a little bit about CC01. This MIDI command is responsible to record the dynamic level on almost every existing orchestral sample library out there. In case if you've wondered why your music, why your instruments don't sound as dynamic as other tracks you're listening to, always be aware that in this case the mod wheel or the MIDI command CC01 is your best friend. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope that you could gain something from it, that you could learn something from it. Maybe you have a few things to add. Maybe you find other things important to talk about. Please let me know in the comments below. Also, I would be really happy if you give this video a thumbs up, if you subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you for watching and see you soon.